Hello everyone, this is Wake Angel 2001, and this is going to be my little cap of the Sonic Prime toy line with the last of the 2.5-inch figures, Knuckles the Dread. Yes, Knuckles was one of those figures that was held hostage in a big playset, as the only proper way to get this figure was to purchase the Angel's Voyage, his big old ship, and then this will be included in it. Fortunately, I found somebody on eBay who was selling it for $10 and just bought it that way. So yes, I do not have that giant Angel's Voyage playset, which I don't have any room for anyway. But let's take a look at the captain of the ship. So Knuckles the Dread, very good with his floating dreadlocks. You know, a part of me would really, if I ever made like a Dark Enerjack figure again, I would love to use this character because he already has the floating dreads, which that's kind of really cool. But yeah, I digress. Elements of the costume are captured pretty decently. You have his little scarf, the sculpted in buttons, the lapels of his jacket, all the little detailings on his gloves. There's a little bit of scraping because I got this on the secondary market, but you know, it's fine. They even got his gold tooth in his smile. So like, I appreciate the detail that goes into the paint job here. Although it looks like they missed a couple of his bandages. Like, most of them are painted, but the ones that they miss are in the front. You'd think you would have the ones in the front painted, and then you would ignore the ones in the back. And like, this one here is painted, but then this one's not. Like, that's very weird selective painting. I might go in there and complete this myself at some later date. But yes, the figure is he is a Jakks Pacific 2.5-inch, so he has Jakks Pacific 2.5-inch articulation, which includes universally jointed hips on both sides, universally jointed shoulders, although it can be a little bit difficult to move him with his dreadlocks getting in the way in certain angles. Like when you move it back, he's basically moving his arm under the dreadlocks, and when you try to move it forward, you got to get it past the dreadlocks. And then his head can swivel, but again, like you're negotiating getting his dreadlocks past his shoulders every time. Oof. So when all is said and done, he has a solid B+ paint job, and his sculpting is on point, A+ sculpting. So for a figure this size, it's actually really good. The only flaw with the figure is that it was a multi-pack, not a multi-pack hostage, it was a playset hostage. There was no way to get this figure without buying that gigantic Angel's Voyage playset. So, let's start comparing him to things that you might want to put him next to, such as iconic characters that everybody can get, like Captain Metal. Yeah, I know. This is one of my customs, but you know what? It's a custom that I was really proud of, and it's been a long time since I flexed this thing out there, so yeah. Now I kind of want to see the crossover where Knuckles the Dread fights Captain Metal. Okay, so let's get into the real comparisons. You're gonna want to have like Baton Rouge, who he stands right next to. Oof. And then you got Sails with his little third arm. Oh, and this is where I gotta point out another negative of the toy line. The paint on it seems to be pretty fragile. When I got him out of a storage box, I found that the sword was pressed up against a piece of cloth, and the cloth stripped the paint. It was just a regular cloth mask, like, that I wore during COVID, and, like, it just literally peeled a piece of paint off just from being in contact with it. Like, wow. And, of course, the nowhere variation of Sonic, with his Buccaneer shoes that allow him to run on water and all that. So, yeah, he blends in pretty good with the rest of the pirate-themed characters. And this is where I'm going to put my final verdict on the Sonic Prime toy line as a whole. The toys that we got were good, but it's very disappointing that the line is incomplete. I mean, they really only made about half the characters they could have in both the 5-inch and 2.5-inch scales. I mean, look, we're right here looking at this, and we don't have Black Rose, like the last member of Knuckles the Dread's crew, and we don't have any versions of Big for the 2.5 line at all. I mean, yeah, he would have been a bigger figure, but, you know, people would have bought it. It's like no one would have bought it. A lot of characters only got figures through that third party, that other company, the one that made the advent calendar, and those figures were crap. Like, most of them weren't articulated, and they had very basic paint jobs. They weren't even gimmick toys. They were just glorified mini statues. And, like, you know, it was really disappointing that you really don't get any complete teams. I think Amy and Sonic were the only ones who had full representation in the toy line. Like, we got Sonic... no, actually we didn't. We got a Grim Sonic, we got a Boss Cage Sonic, and we got the New York Sonic, but we didn't get the Nowhere Sea Sonic in the 5-inch scale. We did get Rusty Rose, Thorn Rose, and Black Rose all in the 5-inch scale, but we didn't get any of the proper characters. We didn't even get all the members of the Chaos Council. We only got 2 of them. And it's funny because like you could have gotten away with only making like a 2.5-inch version of the little kid versions of Dr. Eggman because they're inherently shorter. And even the old man Eggman, like, you could have made a 2-pack. Like, make the old man and the baby versions and have them in one package because they would add up to the size of a full-size figure, you know? And then, like, the tween version, like, he could have been another release. I'm just saying, like, the toy line was disappointing in its incompleteness. One of the lines, either the 2.5-inch one or the 5-inch one, needed to have all the characters. I mean, we didn't get any representation of Rebel Rouge, who was arguably the most important character from the entire first season of the show. You know, the leader of the resistance movement, the one who I'm to this day going to say is the closest thing we ever got to a modern cartoon version of Princess Sally. Like, so, in fact, Baton was the only version of Rouge that we got. Like, and Baton Rouge is a very nice version of Rouge, but that was probably the least important version of her. Like, Rebel Rouge was the most important Rouge in the series, and I would even make the argument that Boss Cage Rouge had more to do than Baton Rouge did. So, yeah. What we got was fine, but my final verdict on the Sonic Prime toy line is that it's overall a disappointment. If Jack Pacific decides to make more figures in the future for the Sonic Prime toy line, then I'll eat crow and say that they did better. But as it stands, the incompleteness of the line is what really hurts it. Like, now that it's over, collectors probably aren't going to bother trying to collect them in the aftermarket because, you know, they'll know that they'll never have complete sets. I'll never have all the characters from New York City. I'll never have an entire Chaos Council. I'll never have the full crew of the Angel's Voyage. So what's the point? Like, you know, by not putting them out there, you basically just completely relegated the toy line to something that, you know, collectors just aren't going to be interested in. Which is a shame, because, like, the quality of the toys is fine. Collectors would like this level of quality, but collectors also like complete sets. So, there you go. Sorry to be a downer, but this is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.